Hi, I'm Everett. Welcome back to the shop. For those of you out there who have machine tools at home, hobby machinists, tinkerers, that sort of thing, you know how it is when people come up to you and say, hey, can you make this? Or I'd like to try fixing this or whatever, right? Well, this time I have a project for my mom. My mom and dad came to visit for a week, and Mom and I wound up spending a bit of time in the shop. My mom's gotten involved with a local weaving and fiber arts guild in her community, and they're finding that, well, like all artisan type clubs and such, again, they're usually kind of strapped for cash, and they could use gear of different types. And sometimes the gear that they have for weaving stuff is prohibitively expensive. Mom asked me if I could help her make a shuttle, which is the thing that slides through the, fibers that are sitting like that in the loom that, get flipped back and forth. I don't know the technical terms for it. She does. Basically, she just sort of explained what she wanted, and we kind of went from there. Again, it's a little bit of a different project compared to some of the stuff I've built for people, but it's for my mom. She asked, so I did. I don't really do a whole lot of wood butchery, as John Mills calls it, but my mom needs a couple pieces made for one of her looms. We got this little slab of stuff here from Home Depot the other day. It's oak. It was pretty much the best hardwood we could find at the time. What we need to do first off is cut the strips. We can get 2 shuttles out of this one piece of board here. It's 48 inches long. We need to make 2 strips that are 1 3/4 wide, and then we'll cut them to length after that. Yeah, let's see how they compare to each other. Yeah, pretty darn good. Overall length of the 2 side wall pieces need to be 18 3/8. Yeah, and for the most part they're the same. To set the profile on the ends here of the bullet nose shape that it needs, as well as locate where the holes go through in order to mount the standoffs, what we have to do is we have to find the center here. Because we wound up making these walls 1 11/16 tall, what we're going to have to do is go to the center, which is 27 32 and 2.5 inches in from the end. So 2.5 inches, we'll start from the 2.5 inches in from the end. This is actually another eBay find I found a few years ago. Otherwise, they're, surprisingly for a ruler, start at 6-inch scales are prohibitively expensive. Then what we'll do is we'll take square, just mark the edges. Just mark the edges there. What we'll do next is I want to make an 1.5 inch mark on the end, on the very, very end. Or 1.5 inch, no, 27 32. Halfway mark, I should say. So the profile we want is from this center point here of 27 32 and 2.5 from the end to this point here, along here in a nice arc. The curvature we're going to wind up using is approximately an 8-inch circle, except using the tangent there to reach there. Well, just so happens that this Tupperware lid here is approximately 8 inches in diameter. It's just a hair over, actually, but it's close enough for our purposes. So what we'll do, we'll trace that, and we'll trace this, because once we have it tangential, roughly, and touching the end, there we go. Sort of a Gothic arch almost type shape, but once we blunt off the front here a little bit, around off the front, what that'll do is that'll allow it to pass between the layers of strings without getting snagged. So we'll do this to both ends of this piece, and then get on to the next step. What we've done in order to make sure that they're uniform is we've clamped them all together. I used the 2 waste pieces on the outside, clamped them together with a couple small clamps, and we're going to drill the holes first. There you go. 3/16 hole for a number 1032 screw. So now it's going to come down to cutting out the profiles on the end. And I don't have a wood cutting bandsaw, but I still have my metal bandsaw. We're going to rough it with this, and then we'll finish off with a belt sander. Simple as that. Onto the belt sander. One thing we're going to have to do is, to do the other side, we'll have to swap the clamps from one side to the other, but that's fine. One final step for the side rails is we have to mill a slot into two of them, and that's where the yarn or string or whatever is going to come out from the middle from the bobbin. Now what we're going to do is we're going to drill the ends through first with a 5/16 drill bit, and then I'm using a brand new, nice and sharp 5/16 end mill, and then we're going to mill the slot in it. Like John Mills calls it, wood butchery. I don't do a whole lot of woodwork on these machines. I know you can cut wood on metal cutting machines, but I haven't really done a whole lot. Swap out for our end mill. Now I am amazed at how well oak machines using metal cutting tooling. The corners here still have to be rounded off and the ends profiled so that the string and such moves in and out of the slot easily. But yeah, I'll do the second one off camera, and we'll go from there. What we need to do now is make the standoffs to go between the two side pieces. They need to be 1 5/8" long, number 1032 thread through the whole thing, and then cross drilled in the center for either a thread or a through hole in order for the little axle for the bobbin. You'll see when we get this whole thing together. But to start with, let's face up this end and then center drill it. All right. I've drilled 2 inches into the material just because I want to make sure I have a good depth of the thread, because again I have to go all the way in. Now I fully understand that I'm not going to be able to tap this all the way through given the lengths of the flutes in my taps, but what this will do is at least give me a, I can at least do the one side. I'll flip it over, do the other side after, but at least I can get this side done with this mounting before I part it. Bring it up. So what we need to do is cut this off at about 1 5/8" in length. But to do that, we'll make sure we're set to 0 on this end. Bring the carriage over till it's just touching. Good, good. I'll take the dial indicator here, bring it up to 1 6/25". And when this reads 1 inch, bring it that way. There. That's where we need to be. So lock the carriage. There we go. Well, we're within 1,000th. We just need to reinstall this. I'm just going to use the center drill to take that burr off the edge. Ooh, a little bit too much of a chamfer. Oops. Oh well. It's not going to hurt anything. Lay the neutral. Yeah, that will work just nicely. So that's the first one. I need to make 3 more of these, and then we'll do the cross drilling. I'll bring you back in when we're at the mill. So I've just found the center of the piece of material in the Y direction, as well as the X-axis, so we're now right in the middle, as you can see with the center finder. Before I go too much further, I have the piece of material here, the standoff, sitting on a couple pieces of aluminum. I can't really get at it with the V-block without interfering with the chuck, and I didn't want to mess up the parallels, because the parallels don't allow enough space in between to drill and thread for the ones we need to do. So what we're also going to do is we're going to take this piece of bar. What I've done is I've set up these blocks here, and take this piece of bar here and set it up as a work stop. It's one thing I do need to make at some point is a work stop, so for being able to do repeatable stuff. But that'll come down the road. Tap drill for a 5mm by 0.8 thread is a 4.3mm. And here's our tap. Take the tension off the belt. That sounds like it's through. There we go. A little bit of deburring. As you can see, the thread goes all the way through both sides. And it you can't really see it from there, but it actually crosses through where the center hole for the 1032 thread goes. Again, it's a mix of metric and imperial, because I happen to have some 1032 flathead screws, and the piece of rod we're going to be putting in here is a 5mm rod, so that's why it's a bastardized piece. So I have one more like this to do, and 2 more to cross drill just with a 5mm, and I'll just do those 2 off camera and get you caught up once we get the pieces done. Okay, I've put the other piece of bar back in. This is the same stuff we made our standoffs from. I'm just going to skim the outside to make sure it's concentric with the spindle, and then we're going to try putting a knurl on it. So the next step is drilling and tapping this thing to an M5 by 0.8. So at this point, it's pretty much arbitrary as far as making the knob. I didn't really have any plans drawn up. I'm just sort of going to freehand this one. So considering our knurled section here is approximately, well, a little over 1.5 inches, let's make each of the knobs, say, 5/8 of an inch. 5/8 of an inch long. Yeah, that'd be about right. But we'll take first off and make a nice little shoulder here, partly to clean up this edge. It's right on, yeah, I can feel that, it's right on the end there. That'll give us a knob that's 5/8 of an inch long. Lock the carriage. Aha, I caught it. There we are. Number 2. So now we just have to clean up the burr on the ends, and we have knobs. We're going to take the knurled knobs, and what I want to do is I want to mount them to these axles, but not just screw them on, but we're going to add a little bit of Loctite. Just a little bit. Add a little bit of Loctite and we're going to crank them on. Because the threads up here aren't quite as finished. There we are. Just like that. Our next step is to drill and ream this hole to 375 thousandths because the tubing is 376 on the outside diameter. So now, theoretically, this tubing, oh yeah, yeah, I have to really work to get it in there, so that will work just fine. Now that the center hole is done, we just need to work the profile of the bobbin ends and then part them off. We're going to make grooves for each of the spool ends. But we're not going to quite cut them off yet because I still want to do some profiling. But at least then I know where my where the corners are. Okay, now that we have our 4/4 inch thick ends delineated, now it comes time to profile them. Well, I'm just going to use whatever tools I have because brass is fairly soft, and I'm just going to sort of freehand it. We just need to make the top fairly round, you know, round off the corners so things don't snag. Okay, first step. I like how that's coming along. So now comes time to put the ends on the bobbins. It's a press fit, but I don't want to take any chances. So I'll put a little bit of the red Loctite magic juice. There we are. A little bit there, a little bit on the other end. There we are. A little bit on either end. There. Hopefully it's reasonably square. It's kind of shaky. here we are. One end in. Take the other end. And there we are. Bobbin. So yeah, it's kind of another fun little challenge project. This time it's for my mom. So love you, Mom. Anyway, I hope you folks found it interesting. Just again, want to say thanks to everybody for, thanks for subscribing. Thanks for all the thumbs ups and the comments and the feedback and such. It is a lot of fun. So yeah, thanks again for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I'll see y'all next time.